Joining us now is OjyOkpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Jinx.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
Very well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Dr. Rufai.
Hey, Oji. Yeah.
I only get excited when I'm on set. How are you this morning?
Good morning, I'm great. And
this
yourself?
morning is just a little bit strange, but you know, we'll manage. How are you this morning?
I'm good. I hope you get well soon.
Well, no, I'm not sick.
Okay.
I'm just a strange morning. You know those vibes you feel. Good morning, Ayo.
Good morning, Oji. How are you?
I hope it's going to be a great day today.
Hopefully.
Well, all right. Well, good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending by taking reactions to the 30 hybrid-powered compressed natural gas buses donated by the Depot and Petroleum Products Marketers Association of Nigeria to ease the cost of transportation on Nigerians. Well, on Monday, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, during the inauguration ceremony at the State House in Abuja, emphasized the urgent need for Nigeria to utilize its vast natural gas resources in the transportation sector.
If we can enhance our energy competitiveness and bring about transformative changes like this, we would definitely be able to achieve the prosperity that we are working hard to accomplish for our people. These buses, along with the CNG and being convertible, is very encouraging and promising to enhance our transportation system.
All right, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has kept his promise. I mean, it was even in the nationwide broadcast on August 1st, announcing that, this was going to happen, and it has happened. But there are 30 buses. Some Nigerians have said, I mean, how would it be shared? Would it be shared one to each state? What about the remaining 6 states? But there are more reactions that have trailed the story. Let me take this one from Fizz, who wrote, August 2023, Nigerians were promised the same to ease transportation and reduce burden of subsidy removal a year after. Our number one and number two men in a nation of over 200 million people gather to celebrate 30 CNG buses. It's even termed groundbreaking plan. Where are we headed in Nigeria? I mean, I'm sure you know the mood of the nation. People will react to this type of story because we've always talked about palliatives not being what we need. Well, in the meantime, the NNPC also said that it donated about 10 buses. This is their tweet here. They wrote, in its continued efforts to support the federal government's drive towards deepening compressed natural gas utilization nationwide, the NNPC Limited, through its corporate social responsibility arm, NNPC Foundation, has donated 10 CNG buses to cushion the effects of transportation on Nigerians. Let me take some reactions to this story. This person is James. He wrote, we joke too much in this country. What Nigerians want is simple. Supply crude oil to Aliko Dangote Refinery for us to have enough energy to run the country, boost economy, and reduce inflation. After then, you can dash your 10 CNG buses to foundations. This is not too much. Nah. Another Twitter user wrote, get out of this usual business of donation and stick to your regulatory role as a national institution. Focus on bringing petroleum retailing to underserved communities in the riverine area in collaboration with the NDDC to forestall the desire to steal and trade in crude oil. Another person wrote, where does NNPC, a government entity, get free money from to donate 10 buses? Only in Nigeria do you see CBN donating money to a certain cause. Not that it is not a good venture, but how does a government agency owned by all Nigerians donate to whoever they want? I mean, NNPC said it, that, it's their social corporate responsibility, which a lot of, limited liability companies, do. But you can't blame Nigerians for asking this type of questions. But Rufai, we have, 30 30 plus 10, that's 40 CNG buses at this point. You know, we have always advocated for CNG anyways, but, you know, I'd like your response to some of those Twitter users.
30
yes.
plus 10 plus, I think, about close to another 1,000 kits plus another one that Jet produced recently. I think there's a couple of hundred buses. You know, some will say it's admirable. But the question is, when the president announced the CNG rollout a year ago, would you honestly, in your heart of hearts, say that we have met those thresholds? Can you see the pervasive effect of CNG buses in our society? The answer is no. It trickles. For a country, if my stat serves me right, that has close to over 10 million cars on the road and all of that, if my memory serves me right, or close to that level, or close to that number, I don't know, maybe between 5 to 10 million threshold of cars on the road, and you are having about 5,000, but it's not going to do so much. So what they can also do is, number one, ensure the full value chain. They started some level of conversion. I hear Naseni say they want to convert, give a 50% slash on conversion. Why not, and if not? The goal during President Buhari's time was 5 million cars to be converted. The president lastly announced 1 million cars. We have not gotten there at all. Then most importantly, how do we ensure constant supply of CNG? There are not enough stations. Yeah, the long trickle of stations here and there, but that's not the pervasive nature of things. So how can we in the coming years double up upon that? You talked about training this morning, very essential. In fact, my mechanic has gone to, shout out to City Mechanics, has gone to, I just had to plug in, good guy, Jide. I mean,
you've told me to go meet
mechanic gives you heartbreak. So Jide of City Mechanic is a good mechanic in Ikeja.
He has to pay you for this.
I'm sorry, but I had to plug it in. But placement, but the truth has to be said. All mechanics also should be able to get this training. How can we pervasively? We can also use the training on how to do fix CNG car as a national empowerment for people that have no skills. Train them up on these skills and make this bus largely available. We have not gotten to the threshold yet. But another thing is, how do we even bring those in the ecosystem into this 250 billion presidential CNG initiative? It's not going to scratch them. I've talked to many people in this ecosystem. We're saying we're not even scratching the surface at all. So how can we ensure that is even more? But yes, kudos, but there's still a lot that has to be. Still a far cry. Somebody will be thinking 1 year after, we should at least be hitting 1 million in terms of exposure for this CNG thing.
I also like the conversation of moving away from, you know, fuel as well. I mean, with the whole CNG. I mean, we're a gas-producing nation. Why not embrace it as well? But, you know, the conversation with the NNPC donating 10 CNG buses also, you know, it got a lot of Nigerians angry. I don't know why. I mean, it's also the conversation about, you know, NNPC underperforming. You know, we talked about this earlier, Ayo, where protesters were out protesting against the NNPC bus. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has also been advised by the Conference of Nigeria Political Parties to sack the chief executive of the Nigerian Petroleum Company, Mele Kyari, over allegations of subsidy scams, importation of substandard petroleum products, and the mismanagement of the Port Harcourt Refinery. Well, in a statement signed by the Deputy National Publicity Secretary, the CNPP said it is time to hold NNPC Limited accountable by immediately suspending Mele Kyari and independently probing the subsidy scam and other allegations in the Nigeria's upstream and downstream oil sectors to save the economy and minimize hunger. I mean, this is a coalition of political parties, so it's not like it's one particular party calling for the, you know, removal or suspension, at least that's what they are calling, so that, you know, the investigation can continue. And I think, you know, they are speaking the minds of a lot of Nigerians that are calling for his suspension at this time. Ayo.
Well, they're well within their rights. Well, the first question I'd like to ask is, how many people have been suspended or have lost their jobs in Nigeria for lack of performance? I mean in government. If it's a private sector organization, immediately you go through the process. There's a procedure for KPI, measuring how well you performed. And if you're consistently underperforming or not performing, then you will have to face disciplinary disciplinary action. But unfortunately, in Nigeria, sometimes the reward for bad work is more work. I'm not saying that's the case with regards to Mr. Mele Kyari, but we see instances like that where there ought to be a suspension or heads rolling or something happening, or even out of dignity, a stepping down because you haven't been able to effectively discharge your duties. But what we consistently see is impunity, therefore leading to more inefficiencies because people are not taking account or people are not held to account. With Mr. Mele Kyari in this instance, now centering on him, the truth is that the three things they've listed are not untrue. The first, with regards to subsidy scam, even the fact that we didn't even think along those lines when we're talking about subsidy scam, that there's a leader in that regard of the NNPC, or why has it not been questioned, is a big issue. The second, around substandard products. We remember when cars were knocking in Nigeria at some point. Who took the, who was held accountable for it? Nobody. The third, around the Dangote refinery, or the fact that they've not been able to sort things out, provide adequate crude, fuel scarcity, prevalent in Nigeria, no questions being asked. There's currently an investigation being carried out by the Senate. Let's maybe wait for that investigation and see what the outcome would be. But the only challenge is that it's a reign of impunity. And that's why we have agencies and departments underperforming without any recourse at all to any kind of punitive measure for it. Should Mr. Mele Kyari be suspended? Should he be sacked? It would be the outcome of an investigation, so he gets fair hearing. If he's able to demonstrate that he's able to discharge his duties, then why not let him continue? But if he's not able to defend it, then there ought to be some form of punitive measure.
I mean, that you just hit the nail on the head, but you know, my beautiful favorite Niger wife, I mean, you have been in our country for, you know, quite some time now. I mean, you were here when the subsidy was announced, removal of 12 subsidy. It went from what, 167 Naira for the pump price to 700 Naira. I mean, you know, you cannot blame Nigerians for feeling aggravated, because this would have been, you know, solved a long time ago if we had our refineries working, if we had our, you know, situation sorted. Why should we continue to go through these issues in Nigeria, our favorite Niger wife?
and you know what, just for historical context, I was also here during Occupy Nigeria.
You were?
I was here on a visit, but I was here while all of that was happening. So, you know, when you listen to former President Obasanjo and his experience with NNPC, when you listen to what Tony Elumelu shared about his experience, and then you look at what's happening now, there's obviously a common denominator there. There's a systemic challenge. It's not about an individual. So yes, as much as we have to hold people to account, this is bigger than a Mele Kyari, because if he is to be removed, another figure is going to come in just to oversee the same institutional failure that has continued for decades and decades. It's now time for us to go into the organization. We thought by it becoming, by being privatized, that, you know, there would be some form of a cleanup and a mop-up. But we're struggling to see that. We want to open up the financials. Let's see the books. What's happening there? Let's find out, you know, there needs to be some sort of forensic audit, a genuine independent one, bring in external people from all corners of the world to unravel and expose what the real challenge is, because it doesn't make sense.
So many points Olusegun Obasanjo had made, and you know, one of the things I took out was the fact that he said the refineries cannot function. They will not function. I mean, so what are we talking about here? We're hearing an announcement end of August, or this August, NNPC says they're going to, you know, revamp the, it's going to start working.
From December.
And the main question, again, I think you guys talked about it during the business segment, is subsidy ever going to be removed? Because, you know, we are still paying subsidy. Yeah. Definitely still
No, it's not going to be
subsidy.
removed anytime soon.
I mean, it's not going to be removed anytime soon. It's unfair, really, it's unfair. Something's got to give. I mean, the suspension of Mele Kyari can be one of them. I mean, that's what they've called for. Well, meanwhile, the presidency has reacted to the controversy over the 570 billion naira announced by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu during the nationwide broadcast on August 4th, which he said had been released to 36 states to expand livelihood support to their citizens. Some governors, including Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde, had contradicted the president, saying that the money was not directly from the federal government, but a World Bank loan. Well, the senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, Temitope Ajayi, in response, said that the status of the fund should not be the focus, but rather how the money can assist in the country's development. Well, the Oyo State governor had described the president's statement on the issue as yet another case of misrepresentation of facts. Makinde said the funds were part of the World Bank-assisted NG Cares project, a program for results intervention, whereby states had to use their money in advance to implement the program, and that the states were only being reimbursed for the funds that they have already invested. I mean, I think really the conversation out there was whether or not it was a loan or a grant. The presidency has come out to say, yes, so it is a loan, that they've agreed with Seyi Makinde, but that, you know, what are you people doing with the funds? But that's really not the issue. It is the semantics of how it was announced.
My brother.
Yes.
Temitope
Ajayi.
I disagree with you. You know you're my brother.
Yeah.
We chat a lot too. My friend, I disagree with you totally. How did the president announce it? Didn't he announce it that we've disbursed millions to the state?
He said that we have released 570 billion naira to 36 states for the livelihood.
Did he call it loan?
No, he didn't say loan or grant either.
So if he didn't call it and he said they released, and now somebody is saying it's BCO, that it's not that government released, because he announced it, part of the things he had done that day. So, like Seyi Makinde said, it's a misrepresentation of the fact, and the government should not misrepresent facts to the people.
Yes.
These are part of the things we say. They should not misrepresent facts to the people. It's good we clarify it, that it's a loan.
Yes.
Because, you know why I'm also disagreeing with my brother, Temitope? It's because the conversation was now skewed around, maybe the government has done a lot for the state. They even released 570 billion like it was the government dashing them the money. No!
Exactly.
It is a loan, so we need to get
From
the
the
facts
World Bank
from
as
the
well.
World Bank, and Gbese will be paid back. No Gbese can go forever. So, now that we've cleared that, the question is, what are we now doing with the money? I see some states now, all of a sudden, they who have woken up, they are beginning to show. I think Kaduna did his, Oyo, no, Ogun even, I saw it in the paper this morning, Ogun too did theirs. They are sharing fertilizer and everything. Please, you must account for every fertilizer shared. It must get to the end farmers. It must not be shared based on the fact that they're your party members or party surrogates. It must be to the people that can use it for productivity. And we must audit the fertilizer. The state must also tell us how much was spent on buying the fertilizer. We must ask them, is that the best possible price in the market? Who collected the contracts? What happened? We need to know these things, though, because that money is a debt.
Yes, it is a debt. Well, like Oyo is claiming that it is, a loan that is being reimbursed. He's saying that they presented their project to the World Bank, and the World Bank gave them the loan, so they had already invested their money. Also, we heard from, I believe it was Nasarawa State Governor, who had said that, this particular loan predates the president. I mean, it is not like it is now. So for me, it was just the semantics, even how it was announced. You know that we had that newspaper, we read that newspaper article, I believe a couple of weeks ago, where, they had even announced it. But they now, carved it under the renewed hope agenda. For me, that was what it was. It was the semantics of it. But Oyo has detailed how they spent the money. They've talked about, they used it for agriculture. And we also see the Kaduna State Governor, Uba Sani, who on Monday commenced the distribution of 500 trucks of fertilizer to smallholder farmers across the 23 local government areas of the state, marking the largest of such distribution in the history of the state. The governor, during the event, said that the 240,000 bags of fertilizer will be distributed free to 120,000 farmers in a bid to enhance food security in the state.
I am extremely delighted to be here to flag off the distribution of 500 trucks of fertilizer, about 15,000 metric tons, to farmers across Kaduna State. 240,000 bags will be distributed to 120,000 smallholder farmers free. Today, marks a significant milestone in our journey toward the revitalization of the agricultural sector and ensuring food security in Kaduna State.
All right, now we are seeing a state governor who is performing. Yeah. I mean, he has said that he's distributing this fertilizer to 120,000 farmers for free. This is the type of palliative that we need, the one that would yield results, not the rice that we'll eat and then we'll go to the bathroom and then it's over. This is the type of initiative that the federal government should emulate, should photocopy, really, in terms of trying to elevate poverty in the land. I think it is a great initiative.
Pyramid.
Yes, that's a fertilizer. We had a rice pyramid, do you recall? Yeah. But you know, I'd like your thought on this before we head over to the United States.
Very quickly, I think he's really leveraging one of the key strengths of Kaduna State in agriculture. Yeah. He said it, number one in production of ginger in Nigeria, number one in maize production, and also second in soya beans. And he was able to also highlight his interventions in food security, not just in the state, but contributions to Nigeria. And this is the kind of leadership that we want to see, especially practical interventions in real problems that Nigerians have. One of the things that the protesters had talked about in the End Bad Governance protest was food security, that people were hungry in the land, and also an ability for people to be able to earn money, you know, also economic security for a lot of people. So we want to see things like this. We have talked about that. You're making all these big announcements of interventions that are being made, but people are saying they're not seeing it. It's not touching them. Yes. But this is a clear show of leadership that not just are they doing this, but they were able to show where it's going to. And hopefully we will also be able to measure the impact of these fertilizers being given to the farmers. But very importantly as well, if they're going to tackle food security in Kaduna, then security, and this is where the federal government comes in.
Absolutely.
Security, but food, kudos to Governor Ubasani, yes. Fantastic work there, and hopefully we'll see the impact of it.
I mean, we need to see more state governors. Yeah. But you know also your Yemi Ajayi, what is his name? The Presidency, Rufai, had said, Temitope Ajayi. Say Yemi Ajayi is our guy. Not Yemi Ajayi is our guy. Had said that now the states are getting more money, which is also very debatable. He's saying that the states are getting more money, but we need to see what the state governors are doing for their citizens. And Ubasani has shown example, and I think that other state governors
are getting more devalued money.
Emulate.
That's another thing.
Yes, that's what I said. It's quite debatable.
Yeah, more devalued money.
It's quite debatable.
Because 150 naira last year is no longer 150 naira a day. 150 naira last year is like 500 naira this year.
Yes, yes. But I mean, we need to also turn our attention to the states now, and so kudos to Governor Ubasani. Well, let's head over to the United States now, where former U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday returned to X after nearly a year for a live interview with the owner of the microblogging platform, Elon Musk. In the comeback post, which has garnered over 40 million views, Trump shared a video featuring moments from his time in office.
I will fight for you with every breath in my body, and I will never, ever let you down. I never thought anything like this could happen in America. The only crime that I have committed is to fearlessly defend our nation from those who seek to destroy it. The more that a broken system tells you that you're wrong, the more certain you should be that you must keep pushing ahead. They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. They're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way, and I will never be moving. On November 5th, 2024, justice will be done. We will take back our country, and we will make America great again.
MAGA, Make America Great. I thought that was such an epic ad. But of course, the conversation is bigger than this. The fact that he had the interview with Elon Musk on Twitter. A quick comment before we take our final story.
You know, very quickly, just looking at that video, could I just say what takes me is just the amount of thought thoughtfulness,
Yes.
production, and intentionality that goes into American presidential campaigns.
Absolutely.
We were talking earlier about some of the jingles we've seen on air from the Edo campaign.
Don't compare
And so-
to this.
no, we can't compare.
enough.
No, we are creative. Our campaigns are
I don't like that.
Our campaigns are
But I'm just saying.
You're throwing shade.
Fine, no shade.
You're throwing shade.
I really enjoyed
Well, I thought that was
the
a
Edo
great
State
ad. That
jingles.
was a
I really
great,
liked
great
them.
ad. Well, all right. Make America great again. We'll take our final story, though, now, under entertainment. Well, another U.S. President, Barack Obama, who served as the 44th President of the United States, has released his annual summer playlist, which features 44 songs from across different musical genres. And Afrobeats music made it to the list, with terms Love Me Jeje and Yayo by Rema. Let's take a listen.
I'm on your wave right now. Yeah. Said love me Jeje, love me tender.
Oh, love me Jeje, love me tender. Well, all right. As always, Afrobeats to the world. I'd love to thank you all for your great analysis, as always, on What's Trending. Well, that's all I have for you guys on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.